Hello everybody, and today we will be taking a look at a lens cap. Just joking, it's really the Sigma USB dock. Alright, so this is the Sigma USB dock, which is really reminiscent of a rear lens cap, and it weighs pretty much the same actually. So in my opinion, the Sigma USB dock, of course you will only need this if you are using a Sigma Global Vision lens. I only have one of these, it's the Sigma 18-35. It's been an awesome lens. So in my opinion, if you are using a Sigma Global Vision lens, then this is pretty much a must-have accessory. Mainly because the Sigma Global Vision lenses are great, however they do come with pretty bad front and back focusing issues. So if you want to exploit the full potential of your Sigma Global Vision lens, you're going to need one of these. So I'm not sure if this is a trick Sigma incorporated into their lenses, so we would buy the USB dock, but nonetheless I'm sure they are aware of this issue, and because of that they released the USB dock for you to mainly calibrate the focus on your lens, modify the focus settings, and also I think they have optimization on the optical stabilizer settings, and you can also upgrade the firmware of your lens when it is available, that is. So the Sigma USB dock is not included with the lens when you purchase it. Now initially I thought, along with many other people as well, they should really include this with the lens when you buy it. But then after I come to think of it, you might be having multiple Sigma Global Vision lenses, and then you might end up with multiple USB docks as well. And if they were to incorporate the USB dock into every purchase set of the lens, then I'm sure they would have to bump up the price of each lens by quite a lot. So now this thing retails for about 60 bucks in the US. So if they included this with the lens, imagine all the Sigma lenses being 60 bucks more expensive. So by doing this, by selling it separately, Sigma allows us, only the ones who need it, to buy it. So you won't have to buy it if you don't need it, and you won't have to end up with multiple USB docks just sitting there in your storeroom. Now in fact, after I bought this, I only used it once to calibrate my 18-35, and it was just sitting there. So I'm considering maybe selling this off. I'm not sure, I might use it in the future, so I'm probably gonna keep it. But of course, this is going to be an accessory that can really improve the performance of your Sigma Global Vision lens. Now, for example, my 18-55, it was an awesome lens when it is in focus. It produces extremely sharp images, even wide open at f1.8. It is a phenomenal lens. However, the main issue I have with this is that the images were almost never in focus. So the images will always be out of focus, and what's the point of a very sharp lens if the autofocus can't get the image in focus? So after using this, my lens worked out a lot better. Now, I'm not endorsing Sigma or anything. This is a great lens, and it was a pain to have to spend another 60 bucks on this and spend about 3 hours to calibrate my lens. It is a very tedious process when you're calibrating the lens, because calibrating using the Sigma USB dock along with the Sigma Optimization Pro software, which is free to download. After you get the Sigma USB dock, it will only work with the USB dock, obviously. Now, unlike the AF micro adjustments in the body itself, so as far as I know, in the Canon cameras, you are only given one generic focus adjustment for the wide end and one for the tele end. If you're using a prime, then you only have one generic adjustment when you're adjusting the AF micro adjustment inside your camera. Now, unlike that, you're only given a generic adjustments. With the Sigma USB dock, if you're using a zoom lens, you get to adjust the focus offset at 4 different focal lengths, and you get to adjust it at 4 different focusing distance for each focal length. So that is 16 adjustments for a zoom lens. If you're adjusting a prime, then you're going to get 4, because you only get 4 adjustments laid throughout the focusing range. But with a zoom lens, you get to calibrate it according to the focal length and focusing distance. So let me show you. I'm going to put this USB dock on my 18-35, which I've already calibrated, so you would be able to see that I have already dialed in my settings, and then I'm going to plug it in to my Surface Pro. Alright, so I'm now inside the interface of the Sigma Optimization Pro software. So as you can see, I have my Sigma 18-35 right beside here. So the moment I plug it in, it will detect the lens, And then one annoying thing it does is every single time you connect the lens, it will automatically check for the latest firmware. As far as I'm concerned, you cannot disable this. It will check for the firmware every single time you plug your lens into the software. But then it doesn't take too long. It takes less than 30 seconds. So as you can see here, you can check for firmware updates, and then you can also customize your lens, which I'm going to go into right now. So for this particular lens, you only have access to one of the 3 settings because full-time manual focus setting is not available on this lens. I'm sure it's probably only available for the sports series lenses. And then this is the customization mode setting, which I have no idea because I don't have a lens which has the setting for me. But nevertheless, the main thing you want to see here is the focus setting. So this is the focus setting menu. Let me zoom it in a bit more so we can have a closer look. So this is the focus setting menu. As you can see, over here is the focal length. So you can set the focus offset at 4 different focusing distances across the 4 given focal lengths. Now for this is the 18-35, so it gives me the settings for 18mm, 24mm, 28mm, and 35mm. So for example, at 18mm, at 0.28 meters, I can set the offset there. And when it's focusing at 0.35 meters over here, you can set the offset here. And at just over 0.5 meters here, you can set the offset again. And at infinity, you get to set one more offset. So you can see I have already pre-calibrated this lens, and you can see the offsets are pretty huge. So the lens is actually quite off in terms of focus, so you will be needing this to really calibrate the focus of your lens. But basically that is practically what this is for, to calibrate the focus of your lens. It's like a very advanced AF micro adjustment software. So that is basically pretty much it about this thing. It's a very simple device, the Sigma USB dock. I wouldn't say it's actually a cheap item, but it isn't a ridiculously expensive item as well. So if you've bought yourself a Sigma Global Vision lens and you really want to get the most out of its focus, if it's having some pretty bad front or back focusing issues for you, then you really would want to consider getting one of these, the Sigma USB dock. Now, one more thing I forgot to mention about this is that calibrating the lens is a very tedious process, because what you have to do is you actually have to connect this to your camera itself first, and then you take a test shot. You have to measure the focusing distance first before you take the test shot, and then you take the test shot, and then you review the test shot to see if it's front or back focusing, and then you have to disconnect your lens from your camera. You have to connect it then to your computer via the USB dock. You have to boot the entire software up, wait for it to check for the firmware update, this and that, and then you dial in an estimated setting, and after that you have to save the setting to your lens. After that, you connect the lens back to your camera, take another test shot to see if the settings were correct. If it's not correct, you have to repeat the entire process, and then it just keeps going on for each of the 16 adjustments you have to do. So if you're going to calibrate this lens, you're going to need to allocate a good amount of time, because it takes a few hours of trial and error and fine-tuning until you finally get the right focus through the micro adjustments. So that is pretty much it about this. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, any comments, just post them in the comment section below. And I will see you in the next video.